How's it going, all you amazing people? This is the Amazing Action Comics podcast, indie comics spotlight and review show, which we try to do every week. Now, usually I am here with Angel Santiago. He is on vacation for the next 2 weeks. So hopefully we're live and we're streaming, and I got this all right because I'm just learning on the ropes here. But he did give me a nice little tutorial there. But this is our indie comics spotlight for July 20th in the year of our Lord 2023. I will be your host, John Pepe, for this episode, and I'm really excited to have a wonderful interview with a great creator named Kevin Zoldan. I hope I got that right. And we're going to talk about his newest book, Kitty's Bordello, and what's going on with that. And then we're going to kind of delve a little bit into his history and talk some comics and the state of the industry, maybe a little bit at the end. But before we kick off, normally this is where we do the news portion. But since Angel's not here to talk the news with me, we might do that a little bit with Kevin at the end, because there was a nice, interesting story that I definitely wanted to discuss that broke this week. However, I do want to give a special birthday announcement to my very, very good friend, Tom Palmer Jr. Tom Palmer has been a friend of mine for over 30 years. He is comic book royalty because his father was the great iconic artist and embellisher Tom Palmer Sr., who just a ton of work that guy has done in his career, and just was an amazing man. And Tom is no different. Tom also is sort of one of the first champions for indie comics, because he wrote for Wizard magazine in about the first 75 issues the Palmer's Picks column, which in a magazine that was full of guys in tights with bulging muscles fighting each other, he wrote the indie comics spotlight for that magazine and brought indie comics into the mainstream. So Tom, happy birthday. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday. It's been too long. All right, so now we're going to get into our spotlight. We're going to shine the spotlight on indie comic creator Kevin Zoldan, and we are going to talk about his new book, Kitty's Bordello. And Kevin, there you are.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Yeah, appreciate you for having me, John. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you being here and helping me figure this out. This is a lot of fun. We had an issue at the beginning. You couldn't hear me. And I realized I didn't turn the microphone on because I was so obsessed with the screen that all this new stuff I've never seen before. So welcome. You have a book that came out just about a month ago.
The first issue. Yeah.
First issue of a 5-part, correct?
Yeah, it's 5 books in total. The name is Kitty's Bordello. It's based on the true story of World War II. The Nazis, they take over a brothel and they put microphones in the walls, and they use that information to spy on their colleagues. And the information that they found out was insane. So it's based on that true story. I did some historical fiction towards the end just to make it up-to-date story and make it more positive and female friendly, not female friendly, but female empowerment. And I feel like that is a very important subject nowadays. It always has been. It's just now we're finally talking about it. It's the first book is called Hope. It's out. It's for free on the website, kittysbordello.com. And if you sign up for the email list, you get book 2. And books 1 and 2, they basically introduce all the characters that you're going to be reading about through the 5-book series.
Very cool, very cool. So I love a good period piece. What I like in an indie comic is something that is either slice of life or an adaptation of a true story, and I love that period of history, and I've kind of been like really immersed in that, specifically like 1939, because I think that's where this book is set, right?
That's where it starts.
I've been, for obvious reasons, I've been just on an Indiana Jones kick again. So I've been really like digging that time period. The first 3 movies, and I've always loved that. I mean, that's when in comics the magic happened. Superman was created, Batman followed, everything kind of exploded in 38, 39. So that instantly caught me. I loved that was set in that time period. I didn't really know about this story. So tell me a little bit about the story, how you discovered it, and then the point when you were like, this would make a really good comic.
Exactly. This story isn't really talked about too much, and it's kind of, I don't want to say it's a shame because I fell on gold, but this is a true story that nobody's really made a movie about. Nobody's really made a miniseries about. Nobody's like, there's been a few books written about it, but that's pretty much it. And the fact that this golden piece of true story was never made into anything, I was like, boom, I got a great story here. And I was looking for something that would be true, that I could kind of, go off and do a little Quentin Tarantino thing at the end. But the fact that I discovered it on Wikipedia and just deep dive, I was a swimmer just going into the deep end, man, diving off that platform. I just read every book I could. I did a bunch of studying. This story started, I started writing it in 2019. So it's just been a lot of research. I wanted to get most of it historically accurate. The first 4 books, I would say, are pretty much historically accurate, except there's one character that I completely invented. He's the journalist that's kind of weaving through, but he serves as a narration, kind of keep you grounded in reality, because this story is so insane. The fact that this really happened, you need a narrator that's keeping you grounded and kind of being like, yeah, this is crazy that this even happened. So that character definitely served a purpose, but he was the last character that I wrote for it as well. I wrote the full 5 books, 24 pages each initially, and I was like, it needs something. It's just, I mean, it does have like a great climax and everything like that, but it just needs something. So Stedman was perfect to fill that gap.
Well, it's important, I think, to have that that's sort of that voice of the reader, right? The person that the reader is kind of being pulled through, and a journalist is a great, way to go with that. I always look to Batman '89, okay? And when I met Robert Wall, I said, I said, look, man, your character, Alexander Knox, the journalist, he's the audience's in. He's us. We're following him because he's trying to uncover this what's going on. And he's like, I never thought about it that way. I was like, oh yeah, no, you're the audience's in. So to have that as your voice of the audience, or who they're kind of observing the events through, is great. And again, journalism runs in my family, so that really grabbed me, that idea that's who was narrating the story. So the real life Kitty, kind of like what she, so I know it's also called Kitty's Salon in some other accounts of this story. But what so tell us a little bit about her story, and kind of without giving away too much, kind of what your angle is as far as who she is and what her role is in all of this.
So she's the proprietor of Salon Kitty, which is a brothel in Berlin. It's very high class. All the top people, all the top tier in society, that's where they go for their brotheling. And she owns it, she runs it, she controls it. It's her baby essentially. Even though she has a kid too, but I don't talk about the kid at all in the story. There's no meaning for that. But she was a very, very strong woman. And she does get kidnapped. And I don't want to give too much away as far as book 1 and stuff, but they basically they blackmail her into having the Nazis take over her brothel and use it as a vessel to spy on their own people. And in real life, they found out some pretty crazy stuff that took down different countries, like different high up military ranks in different countries. And it was just such a crazy true story. She's a very strong-willed woman, though. When I was doing research on her, the more I read about her, the more I gained respect. But she needed a little twist, and that's what the ending that I provide, the historical fiction, um, gives it on this true story. And I think readers nowadays in our setting, in our life experience, they're going to gravitate right for this. And I just want to say the first three books are going to be um, pretty harsh.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to read like pro Nazi. I just really want to put the word out there that I'm obviously not pro Nazi. That's the reason I actually chose this project, because I knew it was going to be difficult to finish. And I wanted to pick something that would be a challenge to finish and bring to fruition. Um, I've already been rejected by a few reviewers because I mean there's violence against women in the first issue, and this is all true events that happened, and I wanted to tell the true story, and you have to build up that bad guy before you tear him down. Anyway, in my opinion, it leads for a better story. But yeah, the first few issues aren't going to be cake and ice cream and happy unicorns and fields and stuff like that. It's going to be a little difficult, but that also makes you have to analyze it and have to think about it and break down the story. And I really just don't want something else like this to happen again. Fascism has kind of been on the rise in the U.S. and that was another reason I chose this project. I knew it was going to be challenging, and I thought not only the political climate, but just society in general could benefit from a story like this and hopefully learn a little bit and not walk down the same path.
Smart. Yeah, no, and you're absolutely right that, if you want to not repeat the horrors of the past, you kind of have to put that up front and you have to say, this is how bad it was. And I like that you're telling people, look, the first three issues are going to be really harsh, but it's always darkest before the dawn. There is, again, your first issue, the first story is titled Hope, so that is on the horizon for this story. So, and again, if it raises anybody's hackles, you're retelling true events, and these are things that actually happen. You're just shining a light on it, which is, and you're trying to do it in an entertaining way and to hook people to have them see it through. So, I don't think anybody should be really giving you guff for portraying things as they happened. That's that. And I think
I appreciate it.
People should absolutely understand that, because you're telling this story, that you are not endorsing what is going on, these actions. So and clearly your protagonist is Kitty, this woman who is an unwilling partner in this situation, and so again, I hope people get to see it play out and see that there's a through line, there's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an ending, and all of it has a point and a purpose to get you to that ending. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about the process on this book, how you worked, how you hooked up with Abel Garcia, and how that all kind of wound up on the page.
Abel Garcia, phenomenal. I couldn't be more grateful to have him as my colleague in this project. His artwork is amazing. His Instagram is Al Otro Lado del Papel. He's from Spain and he speaks Spanish. I am from America and I speak English. My script is in English. He translates it in Spanish and maps everything out, and it's gold. The fact that's another testament to this day and age. The fact that he can do this, that we can work together even though we don't even speak the same language. It's phenomenal. I couldn't be more grateful for Abel. I met him on Instagram, and I just was looking over his profile, and he does killer work. And I was looking for somebody that could pull off how these people actually look. And it's based on true characters. So I brought it up to him and I did a few character mock-ups and he nailed it. And I was like, dude, you're it, man. If you want to join me on this project, I'd be grateful. And he concurs. Like, we just work very well together, and couldn't be more grateful for him. But yeah, I discovered this story on Wikipedia. Just read a ton of books. I need to get rid of these books because on my bookshelves it's like, Nazi women and like like different things that I don't need to hold on to forever. That's for sure. But yeah, did a ton of reading, ton of research on it, and yeah, it was very natural. But it took a while, and the artwork itself takes a while to make each comic. He's the only person on the illustrative team that does anything. There is no letter. There is no colorist. Yeah. And that's something else that we did intentionally. We keep the environment gray. Mm-hmm. So it's a grayscale. So they're essentially living in this dark and dampened environment that is reflective of how society is at the time. And I was living in Asheville, North Carolina temporarily for like a year. And when it gets cloudy there, it gets really dark and gray. And I was like, this is a pretty good idea. And it wasn't very intentional. It was just me and Abel just working things out. And that's how it ended up working. But I was like, this is just a whole nother character essentially that could be added in there. It's like The Great Gatsby. Weather really has something to do with the story, and if it starts raining, they're probably going through like a rough time in that story. So I just wanted to make it reflective of the environment and everything like that. Yeah, and like I said, man, I just couldn't be more grateful for Abel. He's phenomenal.
I wanted to talk about the look of the book because that was something that just initially grabbed me too, was that all these backgrounds are this grayscale, but that there's color in the characters, right? So they kind of do pop in this very gray world, which is really neat. And I think one of the things that I've thought about as I was looking at this, it works because pretty much whatever we kind of think of Nazi Germany, we don't think of a very bright, colorful thing. It's gray uniforms, beige uniforms, brown, and then pop swaths of red, right? So yeah. As far as a story, as far as telling that story, I think that captures just even whether, taken out of the equation, what it was like to live under those conditions in a very colorless world. And then the people who are existing in this stand out because of that color choice. And that was your choice going in, or was
so it's just something that worked out that way. It wasn't intentionally thought of, but when we're mapping out and working out basically how this story would be told and how he was going to do the illustrations, that was just an extra added piece. I was like, this is genius. Let's keep it this way. Yeah. And yeah, the way it ended up working out was very beautiful. And there's another twist on that as well later on, but it's, for the time being, I was like, this is exactly the type of storytelling that needs to be in this, just to have that environment. So yeah, the characters are in color, but whatever they touch, their energy kind of goes into that, and that object becomes colorized as well. So yeah, it's the first time I've done anything like this. It's creative, and that was just something that happened organically between me and Abel, and I couldn't be more grateful for the outcome for it. It's blessed.
Yeah. And I love the detail he puts into the backgrounds, and the gray makes those details pop where color might wipe some of that away. And then again, that contrast, with the people in this world is really cool. So you work full script?
Yeah. So I've done all the scripts.
Yeah.
So all 5 scripts are completely done. I'm not, making it up as we go along. It's a complete project that's finished.
But you've had full script to the artist too, so it's not
for sure.
Yeah. So with detailed on the page layouts, and
Yeah.
which is great because then again, if you kind of look at you equate it to like the movie world, then Abel becomes your director slash cinematographer. So to come up with
For
that
sure.
color choice, that's your cinematographer being like, let's light it this way, Yeah.
Exactly. So all I do on the script is put the page number and how many panels. He sets it up however he wants to. He's an artist. I'm not going to step on his toes, get in his way. I'm not going to draw boxes and be like, set it up this way. That was actually something I did for my first book, and that was definitely a learning experience. I don't want to step on artist toes. There's no reason. They're the ones that know more about that than me. I'm a writer. I'm gonna stay in my lane, brother. Yeah. So as far as that goes, yeah, I'm the writer, producer, editor. So when something doesn't come out exactly how I want, we talk about it and we just have something that works, and we hash it out and make something. Yeah, we work together. It's completely a very safe space between me and Abel. Again, can't be more grateful for him. Yeah. I'm gonna say that throughout this whole podcast.
Well, that's a great trinity. You got the three of you. You got you, Abel, and Google Translate. This is making this project happen, right? So
yeah.
So let's go back a little bit, not all the way to 1939, but let's go back to your beginnings. How did you develop a love for comics? What you said you are a writer, so I'm sure you've done writing that's not comic related. But what led you to want to do comics? And then let's talk about your first book and what's been between that and this, and of course the Pizza Party.
Yeah. So I got into comic books when I was about 5. My middle brother, his name's Spencer, he gave me the Teenage Mutant Turtles like Origin Volume 1, basically how that whole thing like became and their
the original flavor, Eastman Laird, black and white with the young Murdoch cameo.
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, it was solid, man. It was great, man. So that got me into it. I was like, Turtles, man, this is cool. And then I was really into Ninja Turtles, and I got into X-Men. And X-Men kind of was the beginning of this could be way more than just comic books. The storytelling, it has applicable themes that could be tied into society. The first X-Men, civil rights. That's essentially what it was about. And now it's about LBQT, their
diversity
rights
and acceptance. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. Exactly. That's the core message of it, and got me straight into it. I was like, this is great. And then I discovered Alan Moore.
So without aging you too much, what era X-Men are we talking? Are we talking?
I'm talking about the original.
Definitely. Well, when you were getting into X-Men, Chris Claremont was writing.
That was 70s. That was 70s.
He wrote through to the 1991.
Oh, okay, then definitely, yeah.
Oh, so you were as a younger reader, you were going back and reading the older stuff.
So I did read a lot. What originally got me into it was the animated series, and I think that was like the late 80s, early 90s. And I got really into 90s, and I got really into the Batman animated series as well. I like the grittiness of that one. R.I.P. to the voice actor on that one. I know he passed away a few months ago. I didn't post anything. I wish I would have, because that really had an effect on me. Right. But Claremont with his outer space themes kind of got me into it. There's been so many prolific writers in the X-Men since then as well.
Oh yeah,
the X-Men has always been pretty formidable. But I really got into Alan Moore. Alan Moore is the one that just blew my mind to shreds and then put it back together. And I think there's probably more than just him, but he sat down and he wrote, I don't want to say formula, but he broke down his process about creating and writing. Mm-hmm. And he did that at the beginning of his career, and he just did a BBC Maestro. And my lady got me that for Christmas. And it's like 33 lessons, something like that, where he just talks. Yeah. And it's like attending a lecture. And that was towards, I don't want to say his career has ended. He's still working, just not as prominently as he was before. But he's the only one that I know that does the beginning and the end for his process and explains it to you. So not only were his books, Watchmen, V for Vendetta, completely, they just blew me away, masterpieces. But he explains his process as well, and he huge influence. But his stuff is pretty intense, pretty intellectual, pretty dense, and I love it. I love it. It's great, but I wanted something a little less. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but I just wanted something slightly easier, but a little still with that intellectual thought process behind it. But didn't want it to go as deep as he does. He's an intense guy.
He's a scholar. Have you read From Hell?
Oh yes,
and the annotations,
masterpiece as well.
Insane those annotations. Have you ever read an Alan Moore script?
Oh, I did The Killing Joke.
You're probably still reading it.
Yeah. Like I was like, I can't write a script like that, dude. That's not the way you write a script, dude. But his process is very interesting. But he's definitely not somebody you want to carbon copy. You got to do your own thing. But having him as an influence was great. But yeah, dude, do I want to be Alan Moore? No, dude.
Killing Joke is always my favorite example of an Alan Moore script because it's a 48-page comic, right? And I have the Absolute Edition. Oh, you still there? Yeah, good.
Yeah, I'm here. Just a little buffer.
I have the Absolute Edition. So the Absolute Edition prints the current recolored version for the 50th anniversary that Brian Bolland did. Prints, again, the same 48-page story, again, but with the original coloring, right, from when it was originally released in 88. And then it's got all the background, like the extra stuff, all the sketches and all the promo art and all the Joker related stuff Bolland had done up to the release of that Absolute Edition. And then it prints the Alan Moore script. And the Alan Moore script is like almost 200 pages for the 48-page comic. And it is longer than the comic twice and the extra stuff. And I think that's the greatest example of what an Alan Moore script could be like. Yeah.
It's a little too dense for me. And I want something that when you're an indie creator, finding artists to work with is not the easiest thing in the world. And I'm not trying to bombard them with an Alan Moore script, brother. I'm trying to get them something they can work on. So script, panels, what's happening in each panel, let's get it done. So yeah.
So you are a writer. What do you write besides comics? And then how did you get into writing comics? As far as what was your first comic that you worked on?
Gotcha. So I started writing basically anything. I wrote short stories in high school. I wrote a lot of poetry. Teenage angst. I was in punk rock bands, just trying to get feelings out. So there's a lot of emotions through high school for me. I had a father that was passing away. Not trying to get too deep, but there's a lot of, heavy situations in my life. So poetry, that was something I leaned on, and some of it became song lyrics. I wasn't the singer, but the singer in my band, he was awesome. And was like, hey, man, this is really good stuff. Let's use it for this song. I was like, perfect. But yeah, it was writing has always been a form of expression for me. And in my 20s, it kind of took a slow dip. I got more into music at the time. Did a little bit of touring on the East Coast, things like that. Nothing, it's a punk band. Nothing's really gonna come from it at all. So I had to get a real job. I moved out to California and I really had to get a real job. So I started working at a hospital. I was an IV technician. I mixed all the medication for bags and stuff. And that was pretty daunting and very stressful. And that led to a lot of health consequences for me. So I was out of work for about a year. I had a stroke and I had to relearn how to write. I lost function on the right side of my body, the left side of my face, and I had to physically relearn how to write. And Unbroken, that was my first comic book. It came from that, and it was basically just trying to figure out how to tell a story fully and get my mind working right. And after they say after 6 months, if you don't fully heal from that, you're kind of stuck the way you are. And 6 months came, went. It was about 7, 8 months. I still wasn't fully healed. I was like, shit. So I started playing drums. And that's where you. I played drums, but I got back to drums, and not very good. Please don't think I'm a master drummer, but it gets you using all your limbs and coordination.
Yep.
And that's really what helped me propel me over the edge. But I really attribute to writing that really got the thought in my mind to, hey man, we gotta get back to par at least and figure out where we're going from there. So it is a complete gift to be able to write still, and I don't take it for granted. It's amazing. I did Unbroken with a Canadian artist. His name is Bax. So grateful for him. He did ink on paper and scanned it. It's a raw comic book. Is exactly what the theme of that story is. It's a survival story, and it turned out great. A lot of critics all over the world really praised it and loved it, and a lot of people all over the world really kind of latched onto it and liked it a lot, and that was encouragement. So I found Salon Kitty at that time, that story, and I deep dove into that, and it took a really long time to formulate that story. But this is also during the Trump presidency, so I was like, this is an important story to tell. So it's moved on from there. But kind of turbulent history, but so grateful to be where I'm at and doing what I'm doing now. I couldn't be happier.
And so Unbroken is the story of your stroke and recovery.
No, it's all symbolic.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's about a juvenile person. They're in a war-torn town. It's all very vague because I wanted to keep things vague in my own mind just to make sure I could tell a story in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's a war-torn town. Everybody evacuated. She was trapped underneath some rubble. She got free later, and she was by herself, and she just learned how to survive and had to fight off the people that are still coming and passing through the town, the enemy soldiers. So it's it was a good first try at comics, and I couldn't be more grateful for Bax. Unfortunately, me and him lost contact. And everybody that I talked to mutually, we haven't been able to contact Bax. So it was supposed to be a trilogy, but it's just going to be a single one shot. I'm not the type of creator that switches artists. Once I start a project with an artist, that's their baby too.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna step on I don't want to say his toes, but I don't want to step on the awesome work that he did for that first issue and just replace him and find somebody else. That's not in the cards at all. So that was another reason that I wanted to do Kitty's Bordello, but it took a while. I didn't have another comic book as, I wrote all 3 scripts, and I didn't have, buffer time in between projects.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah. It is buffer time in between projects. I didn't have, issue 2, issue 3 to complete the trilogy. Yeah. But, the first one was very well liked, and I'm pleased with it. And it was a good shot, and I learned a lot. So being able to apply everything I learned to this project, again, gratitude.
Nice.
You just keep learning and growing.
Well, maybe Bex is out there and this finds his way to his computer screen or phone, and someone sends it to him, and maybe that'll link you guys up again. But you do at least have that piece of work, Yeah,
I have such admiration and love for Bax. He's such a great guy. One of the most original people I've ever met. He's just such a solid guy, friendly, completely nice, awesome human being. It sucks that we lost touch. I miss him. He was a good friend, and especially being my partner during that really turbulent era for me. It's
Right.
it's a huge loss not to be able to speak with him anymore.
Yeah.
So, Bax, if you are out there, man, I love you, brother, and I hope everything's good with you.
I do like though that your first comic, Unbroken, while it isn't, while it was that recovery process for you after your stroke, and it's not about that, but it is still a survivor story and about somebody having to
Yeah.
relearn, how to exist when what they're used to, the way they're used to existing, is no longer there. So that's tremendous. And man, that I didn't know that. That's an amazing story on your part. God bless you. Congrats. Like,
Hey, I appreciate you.
that strokes terrify me, and I'm a smoker, so
Yeah.
so I'm glad that you're here and talking with us, and you made it on the other side of that, because that is a remarkable and amazing story. So I'm glad that you also channeled that into this work. So both your books, Unbroken and Kitty's Bordello, are under the Pizza Party publication banner.
Yeah, so Unbroken, I just kind of did it. I didn't put the Pizza Party logo on the first issue. I was going to put it on issue 2 and 3. I came up with, I needed a company. I didn't want it to just be Kevin Zoldan, all the time. I kind of wanted something way more fun and friendly sounding as my publishing house, essentially. So I created up with something silly, even though it's all pretty dark themed stories so far. I wanted something a little bit more livelihood, so it has a balance, and yeah. I'm not trying to poke fun at anything, but Pizza Party Attestation, you're basically declaring a pizza party, and I wanted that for each release. I wanted to celebrate it, So
that's awesome, and I like that it's not a Pizza Party presentation or presents; it's a Pizza Party attestation. Especially
that's
since you
brother.
are, doing this real world story too. So now you did say that the first issue is currently available on the website.
Yeah, you go to the website. It's right on the landing page. Sometimes it takes a little bit to load because it's pretty heavy and dense. But you get there, you get on it. You can read the whole first issue for free. If you sign up for the email list, you get the second book for free, and that basically gets you introduced to all the characters in the story. And it is a slow burn. I'm really inspired by. I don't know how you really pronounce the name, Scorsese.
Scorsese, yeah, that works. Martin Scorsese, yeah.
Yeah. I love the work of a lot of those directors, and slow burn is a great way to tell a story, in my opinion, and it works for the comic medium. Right. The comic medium is so versatile in storytelling. You can do so much, and it's like a book. So you can, if you have questions, you can stop and reference something in the back. It's not like a movie. You're basically stuck in that storyteller's time frame, and that's all you get. All you get is what they want to show you at that particular second, and that's how you have to. Once you start it, you have to finish it. You can't hit pause at a movie theater and answer any questions. So, comic books are amazing way to tell stories as a creator.
Grant Morrison sometimes refers to comic books as a almost a perfect form of time travel, because you can jump forward, you can jump backwards, you can go back and revisit moments. So yeah, I always resonated with that when he in his book, I think it was Super Gods, that he wrote that, one of his manifestos. But that's one of the lovely things about comics, is that you can because it's not words on a page. You have the pictures to go with it. So you have these easy reference points. I always righted friends for like, why are you putting a bookmark in your comic? Just remember what the picture looked like. And even if you didn't, go back and whatever, But yeah, that the ability to just jump around at any points in the story is always one of my favorite things about that medium. And it's all laid out before you like that. So currently digital, Kitty's Bordello available in print. Any plans to go to print?
So to keep costs down, I'm doing digital only for the release of the 5 books, and then I want to collect everything in a volume and just do it that way, and kickstart the volume. Nice. So doing each individual issue would be pretty inefficient as far as cost goes. Yeah, it'd be awesome. That was my initial plan, but um, I have this community of comic creators that I kind of reference. It's Comic Lab. It's a podcast where they teach you to make comics and make a living from comics. That's their tagline. Great advice. Solid people giving you great advice. They've been doing it for over 20 years individually, as artists, and it kind of goes along all spectrum from strips to graphic novels, everything. They give you good advice, and they're like, don't do individual issues. And I at first it was that it was like a blow. I didn't want to do that, but then the more I analyzed the numbers, the more I was agreeing with them, and I really want this project to work, and I don't want any snags to come up to get in the way of finishing this project. So
I think
no print so far, even though I absolutely love it, man.
Yeah,
I love print. Holding
a
a printed book in your hand, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a baseball glove. Exactly. Yes. It's like the smell, the love of it. It's just but yeah, that hope that'll come from the printed volume of all 5 books anyway. So
and
it's not like
you're not
it's not like I'm disregarding. Exactly. I love it and I want to pursue it. But
yeah, and I think in this day and age, I think that is a really good way to go. You kind of seed the audience with the digital, and then when you get the whole thing in one nice graphic novel, that also gets you into bookstores, maybe schools, because it's a historical thing. That kind of gets it out there, and people don't have to chase around for it. If you're just intent on getting your story out there for people to read, like I said, digital is a great way to start, and then just get it in print when it's all done. Is a great way to go. Are you currently doing any crowdfunding for the digital issues, or just sign up for the email, get the first 2 issues, and then does the email get you the subsequent issues as well?
No, so it just gets you book 2 so far, and that's the only one that's completed. Abel's working on book 3 now. Like I said, all the scripts are done, but the comic process takes a while. It's like a pregnancy for each one. It's like you're birthing a creative project. Yeah. I give him 9 months anyway. It's whatever. If he finishes it before that, great. If not, I'm not going to push an artist to try to work quicker. That's the last thing I want to do. I want to create a friendly environment for both of us to be able to work together cohesively. So it's
So getting on,
I think digitally is the right way to go.
Yeah. Just to get it out there and then get it compiled and printed later on. Because then again, you already have that built-in audience when it does come time for the Kickstarter, the crowdfunding. And then you get the book, and you're going to get a bell and whistle and all these tiers and all that stuff. So yeah, I think it's a great way to do it. And by signing up for the email, it will also keep you in the loop as to, when the next issue will be available and so forth, and for your crowdfunding efforts. So that's a great way to go. That's something that I don't feel like we have encountered yet in anybody that we've reviewed on the Spotlight here. So I kind of like that model. I like that idea of that's how you're doing it. Not just jumping into the crowdfunding. I like the idea of building that audience, getting the word of mouth out there. I think that's a really good way to go. And
I have a little bit of leftover audience from Unbroken, but I need to build my audience more to make it something that's feasible. And it's, a historical fiction comic book isn't the most friendly. So that I realized that was going to be another challenge. And you don't, the point I really want to make is it's such a good story. You don't have to be a historian to love this book. The story propels it all the way through. Just because it is based on history doesn't mean that you have to absolutely know everything about the Third Reich and things like that. You know what I mean? It's a great story. And it's like a Quentin Tarantino movie. When you went and saw Inglourious Basterds, you didn't have to know everything there was to know about World War II. It's just a very entertaining story. And that's how I want to present it. I want to present it as just a very good, entertaining story.
And along, you mentioned the Quentin Tarantino before too, because that reminded me of one of the things I did love about how you lay out the book. Again, if you're familiar with the Glorious Bastards, when the character's introduced, you get the title card, and you do that in this, and I was like, oh, this is great. I love this. Is so cool. So I love that
Huge
kind of.
inspiration.
Yeah, exactly. You homage, right? Yeah. And
Oh, for sure.
and so the other thing too about doing this sort of historical fiction, or this based on history, but putting a fictional spin on it, um, you have a potential to reach a wider non-comic reading audience. You can pull in people who love history or love that era, or so I think that it does open you up in the market a little bit more than if you were doing the dystopian future book, or whatnot, so not whatnot, but you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah, I wanted different markets to be able to go after and try to get them into, because comic books is a medium that some people kind of gloss over and they don't take seriously. Watchmen is in one of the 100 greatest novels of all time, and it's a comic book. It's the only one in there.
Yeah.
So I kind of want it to be. I don't want it to be. I want it to be tangible for everybody to be able to read and kind of get in, and more than just the comic book market. But I mean, the comic book market, I absolutely love it. Great people involved. The indie community is exactly that. It's a community of people that try to amp up everybody else and keep them positive and keep them working on their projects. It's such a great and close knit community. It's something I'm proud to be a part of.
Yeah, yeah, and again with this material too, with Kitty's Bordello, it has the potential to reach this, people who enjoyed Art Spiegelman's Mouse, right? Which like it has that potential
Great book
to reach that audience because the story you're telling is important, and it, like you said, the point is we don't want this to happen again. We don't want this kind of society to erupt again. And we don't want, people to be pulled into doing things that they don't want to do when they're just trying to make a living, So I think that's fantastic. Exactly. Unbroken, is that available in print at this time, or?
It is. I need to go. So I've moved around a lot. Right now I live on a remote island in the Pacific.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wherever life needs to take me, that's where I'm rolling, man. And so all the printed copies are back in Texas, in my lady's mom's storage unit. So no, there's none available at the current moment. But as soon as I'm able to grab some, I'll update the website. But digital, unbrokencomic.com. It's available digitally, and I did print issues for that one, which was another learning curve. But I still have some, and happy to update that when I'm able to.
Right on. All right. So you know what? We're gonna just start to wrap it up. But before I go, I just kind of wanted to pick your brain on what the state of the comic industry is right now, specifically when it does come to indie creators. Angel and I always concentrate on everybody but DC and Marvel, as far as what we consider indie. So we still lump Image in as an indie creator or indie comic publishing company because of the diversity of the different types of books that they put out, and the sheer volume of it as well, that they are not afraid to tackle any genre. And I feel that we need more companies like Image out there doing that. And some do, like Dark Horse still does it, IDW to a degree with their IDW originals. But a lot of these, Dark Horse, IDW, Dynamite, they do rely on their licenses, which blocks space, I think, from other stories getting out there. From your perspective as somebody who is doing this on your own, how do you feel the state of the indie comic industry is right now? And then that being said, there's that little bit of news I just kind of want to touch on a little bit before we go. But yeah, how do you feel things are going right now?
So you have the big two, tier one. You have tier two. That's what I call it. I call it Image, Dark Horse, Dynamite, all the other ones, Top Cow, even. I lump them all in tier two. They have they have their series, they have their stable, and they're not going anywhere. They're safely in tier 2. And then you have some other ones that are in tier 3. And then you have the lowest totem pole, which is, creators like me. I want to retain all the rights to anything that I create. So if I have to do all the legwork myself, I'm going to do that. The more I can get out there and speak with people, the better. I'm trying to not give up any rights to doing it. But so with all the technology that we have available, it's a playground for us now. We're able to get our name out there. We're able to, like I said, it's a community of people. We're able to kind of circulate our projects and what we're working on and build a community and a conversation about something in the first place. So I think indie comics are doing very, very good. And you have all these tier 1s that are, making all these movies. So you're funneling everybody into loving comic books in the first place. So you have this new audience to kind of go after. I don't want to say go after, you know what I mean? To try to get into your creation as well.
Yep.
But I will say I think print is I don't want to say a casualty, but it's going that way, and it's so sad because you have somebody like me that wants to do print. It's just not economically feasible. Yeah. It's not really an option for me. So we have to go digital, and it's a shame in all honesty. But that's the environment we're in, and am I going to stop creating comics? No. I'm just going to go after people and go after audience members and try to get them into my fold. But the fact that we still have the ability to do collected volumes in print, that'll keep us going. But I think even the big ones are talking about cutting back on their printing of single floppy issues, and that's a shame, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I still feel there will always be a need for that, but it is looking fewer and farther between as far as, okay, what is going to warrant a big 2 publisher to put out as a floppy rather than just going direct to graphic novel. And right now it's like, when I look at some of the stuff that the big 2 are doing, it's like they're just trying to get as much out the door as floppies as they can, as if at some point they might have to scale it back to, 1 or 2 Batman titles rather than 15, like things like that.
Yeah.
So, and then save some of those others for like special things. But yeah, I mean, with the advent of Patreon, Kickstarter, all this crowdfunding stuff, it does allow you guys to do the work that means the most to you under your own rules without compromising too much. And knowing your audience and knowing who you are doing this for and entertaining, because you even build communities within those Kickstarters as well, from what I've noticed. So I think that's really cool.
For sure.
You have people who are not just financially invested, but emotionally invested in your work. And I think that has been a great opportunity. And yeah, one of the boons of our digital age that we're dealing with. Also, you do see a lot of crossover. You see a lot of guys like James Tynion the fourth, who, made a big splash as an indie creator, busted through the big 2 for a while, and it's like, all right, I'm bringing it back and I'm doing indie comics again, so that's always nice to see as well, people who remember their indie roots and go back to it. I don't know if you would be averse to someone at Image reaching out to you to be like, this is a great book, we want to publish this book, Kitty's Bordello. If that, because I know Image is big on creator rights. But if that is a success that you're looking for, I hope that reaches you. But also I know from my talking with you, it's about the work. It's that you're passionate about the work. You're passionate about the storytelling. What means the most to you is getting that work out there and getting eyeballs to see it. And that is so noble. that I really applaud you for that. And again, as well as for your survival story as well, because that to me is just unfathomable. And so I really wish you all the success in the world as far as this project and future projects as well. You know,
I
yeah,
appreciate you a lot, John.
yeah,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you being here. Appreciate you doing this. Yeah, the little bit of news I wanted to talk about that broke this week before we wrap this up. Whatnot, which started as sort of like a video auction site, went into publishing with Massive Publishing, and they published a few titles. And they made a deal recently to publish the final issue of Heavy Metal magazine, which had been running for 46 years. And they, I think, actually, they also had to put up the money to publish the final issue in the promise of starting a volume 2 under their publishing masthead. And they got the final issue of volume 1 out. I think they even did like a variant exclusive black bag, like the Death of Superman. So it was like the Heavy Metal logo in like the pentagram with the bleeding or whatever. And then they just announced this week that apparently they don't have the money to do volume 2. And this is something that concerns me, because yes, there's all these great advantages of this digital age we live in with these crowdfundings, but then you have some guys who kind of come in, get a lot of heat because of a certain situation, because of the Whatnot was blew up during the pandemic, right? And when people were stuck at home, right? And so now they take the step into publishing, and then something like this happens where basically they buy one of the most revered indie comic anthologies for the last 46 years, and it's just buried now. And that does concern me as a dark side to what we are experiencing right now. I just really quick, what are your hot takes on that?
Again, it goes back to printing, and it's the biggest, saddest casualty that we have in the industry. Mm-hmm. Being able, like Mad Magazine going under, all these staples from a beautiful century that had all these beautiful magazines printed and something tangible that you can hold. And I don't think books are going away. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's something that's completely vanishing, but it seems to, one domino at a time seems to be falling, and hopefully it doesn't continue this way. And I'm just really upset that they would buy this amazing title just to bury it. It doesn't. The logic behind it doesn't make much sense. Maybe they're trying to do like digital only, but I mean, it's a staple that is printed.
Yeah, I think the intention was not to bury it. The intention was to get this volume 2 out, and the work was done on the first issue. And that's another thing, is that apparently the artists and creators didn't get paid for the work they've done on this first issue of volume 2. I think it's just they ran out of money. I think that they over expected the popularity of their brand, and they overextended themselves. And I think now this is the casualty. So I think that's sort of like my takeaway from this, is that we live in an age now where everything is so accessible so immediately that people have these spikes in popularity and attention, and they're like, I'm never coming down. I'm always going to be at the top of the heap. And then tastes change, situations change, and now, oh wow, this isn't the 5-year plan that we had. We got a year out of this. So that's why I think that their intentions were honest and honorable. I didn't think they did this just to bury it. I just think that they were victims of their own hubris. I would say, as far as thinking, oh, we're gonna have all the money in the world forever, and now we don't.
That's the evil of corporations. They realize they get overzealous. They do this purchasing, and then they realize they don't have the money to back it up. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you're bearing an iconic title. And if they were true, what's the word I'm looking for? If they were truly honorable, I'll just use honorable. They're truly honorable. They would just release the rights to it to somebody that cares for it and wants to keep it in printed format, because
Or-
you know that there's buyers out there that would do that
Yeah, or
and
partner
keep
up,
it going.
right? Yeah. Or
Exactly.
yeah,
At the very least, partner with somebody that wants to do the printing
if it's
and
about
keep it sustainable.
yeah, if it's about having the massive Whatnot logo on a volume 2 of Heavy Metal, partner with somebody else to get it out and get it out there. Yeah. Don't just
Scale down if you have to.
Yeah.
Exactly. Scale down. I mean, just keep it alive. Don't completely, brush it under the carpet. Doesn't make sense. It's not logical.
Yeah. I will tell you though, Mad Magazine has come back because they are owned by a giant corporate umbrella. They're a Warner Brothers property. So Mad Magazine is now back on comic stands in magazine format with Alfred E. Neuman on the covers. Yeah, and it's a cover price of $5.99. But as they remind you, that's cheap.
Doable, man. Inflation, brother. That's very doable. That's awesome. That's good to know. I didn't even know that. That's great.
Yeah. But yeah, they did go away for a while, and that was I was like, oh, that sucks. That's bad.
I remember when they did their last one. And when they did their last one, it was iconic, and they got the artists to do other things here and there. But I'm glad that they're able to do it. Hopefully they just treat their people right, their artists and things like that. That's another thing with these giant corporations. They're trying to pinch pennies. And and unfortunately, like you said about going to Image, that would be great, but I'm getting a lawyer to read all this, fine print
100%.
Because I don't trust any of these, if it's tier 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever tier it is. If I'm giving something that I poured all my heart and soul and blood into, and my creative, piece with my artists, I'm not taking anything away from them. But it's something that we collectively make. I'm not just going to give the rights to somebody else. We're gonna sit down and hash it out. So I don't see that coming at all for somebody, of my stature. I'm just happy to be able to get to speak with people like you and try to get the message across that I exist and this title's out there, and if you have time, give it a look.
Awesome. Kevin, thank you so much. I love your spirit, your passion, your energy, your desire to tell these stories. Keep at it. Don't ever give up. Thank you so much for being here. Again, I think we went live, so I think this actually happened, and I'm glad it was with you. And
appreciate you, John.
Yeah. And so once again, just tell people how they can reach out to you, how they can find you.
www.kittiesbordello.com. I'm on Instagram. My handle is @thezold. So it's THEZOLD. And are you going to put any links or anything in? This is a live video.
Yeah, that's an Angel graphic thing. So if you want to go on to YouTube and post the links in the comment section.
Sounds perfect. I'll post links. It's better than me spelling things and trying to spell things in Spanish. So it didn't work before. Trust me. I've done interviews and me spelling doesn't sound too good. But hey, I want to end this with giving a high five to the camera. Will you give a high five? Yeah, brother. I appreciate you. Positivity, brother. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it a lot.
Not gonna send you off just yet because I do have a graphic for Angels, Amazing Action Comics, socials, and stuff like that. So I'm gonna put that up, and I'm basically gonna do the outro here, folks. This is the information for the Amazing Action Comics podcast. If you are a comic creator and you would like to come on and join us for an interview, we love to have you of any tier. We'll take anybody from any tier at this point because we love doing this and we love comics. Of course, as always, support your local comic shop. As everybody who listens to the show knows, my favorite is the Joker's Child in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, where you could get all sorts of wonderful comic swag and toys and statues and good old floppies and great new trade paperback and hardcover collections, as well as the classics. Kevin, I want to kick it to you. Where do you get your comics? Or do you have
I get them
like to plug?
So I live on a remote island in Hawaii. There's 3,000 people here. So I'm basically confined to the internet. And I do my ordering through shops and have them send it to me. There's a shop out in Honolulu that sends me everything. I don't want to plug anybody. I don't have too many close-knit friendships out here. I just moved out here a few years ago. And I know Comics Kings in Virginia Beach. They treated me very well when I was living back home in Virginia Beach. Comic Kings, hopefully they're still around. I haven't been back there in about over 10 years. But yeah, I wish all comic shops the best. It's brings so many great memories of just going to the store and like looking at the shelves, and again, it's something that I hope stays around, and the youth of today get to experience the same experiences that I got to experience and get me into comics and keep the ball rolling. It's I think if shops do a little indie creator, I don't want to say corner or something in their shops, but I don't know about distribution for indie comics. But there seems a need for that niche, and I think every comic shop in the world could advance with having these not top tier storytellers be able to get their product out there and their message out there more than anything, more than just a product. It is a message. But yeah, no comic shops that I wanna rep. I need to get more into it out here, but it costs so much money to travel around to different islands out here, man.
I can imagine. But you know what? Absolutely 100% agree with your sentiment. Local comic shops are really the last bastion of great culture that more people definitely need to explore and rediscover or discover for the first time. I always call them, local comic shops they're part clubhouse, they're part museum. Everyone is a little bit different, but they all have the same goal in mind, and that is getting comics into people's hands and getting new readers and satisfying the older readers. And again, thanks to creators like you, I hope to see your book in shops someday, man.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me. You've been a pleasure to speak with. Great conversation, man.
Well, thank you very much. That means a lot. God bless you. Keep doing the great things. And, I wish you the best of health going forward, my friend.
Hey, appreciate you a lot. One more high five.
One more high five. Woo!
Yeah.
Folks, thank you very much. This has been the Amazing Action Comics Indie Creator Spotlight for July 20th, 2023. I have been your host, John Pepe. I want to thank my guest, Kevin Zoldan. And remember, folks, like Angel always reminds us at the end of every episode, be amazing, stay amazing, and read something amazing.